We're going to have our top 10 gentlemen on stage, please.
It's not a given that just because you're in the
our
first
10
call out, you're
finalists
going to be
on
last man
stage. This
standing.
is being judged live right now, folks, so be as loud as you want. Please welcome your head judge, Mr. Steve Weinberger.
Thank you, Bob. Can we see Rolly, Sean, Dexter, Rami, William, and Phil?
And that was predictable from last night's call-outs, Dan. I mean, all these guys equally, I think, improved.
Defending champion,
Dexter and William, switch, please.
Phil Heath,
Dexter and William.
along with Big Rami, of course.
Phil, I imagine they'll probably stand next to each other in a
Rami
minute.
and Rolly, switch.
And there it is, Dan.
And the crowd understands what they're watching. Everybody in the bodybuilding universe wants to see Mamdou Alsbaye, Big Rami stand next to Phil, the Gift Heath, and see these guys go toe-to-toe and pose for pose.
Gentlemen, quarter turn to the right.
You're looking at two men on stage who have won the Mr. Olympia, Dexter Jackson, a former champion, Phil Heath, the reigning champion, and then there's Big Rami, a guy who's trying to become champion.
Yeah, I mean, he's thick as a brick. I mean, again, this takes me back to when I competed with Dorian Yates. It's that apple and orange comparison. But I can tell you, Dexter does not look 10 years older than Phil Heath in this comparison.
Well, here it is. This is where the Big Rami fans will sit there and point out. I'd love it if the camera could pan back over and we can get a clear sense of that Big Rami versus Phil Heath.
Lat spread.
And Dan, that front lat spread is Big Rami all day. He's just too big for all the guys on that lineup for the front lat spread.
Side chest.
And again, Dan, there were some pictures circulating yesterday, this side chest, where people thought that Big Rami owned this pose when standing next to Phil Heath. Let's see how they look tonight.
Well, both of them are making it a point to showcase their hamstrings, and we are, it almost becomes murkier and murkier because Phil Heath obviously has a different look, and it's extremely difficult to compare these guys, but Big Rami is massive, and he's in the best shape of his life.
Winning the Olympia is won from the back. Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, and now the Gift, Phil Heath, should own this pose from calf to traps.
Relax.
Of course, William Bonek is the guy who's got something to
Rolly
say about
and
this
William,
as well.
switch.
And that's where they're
Dexter and
bringing
Sean, switch.
William Bonek closer to the action. They're going to give Sean a fair opportunity to stand next to the champion.
Gentlemen, back lat spread.
Steve Weinberger knows that there's a lot of money up for grabs. He properly prepared them, so Steve's going to let
Dexter
these guys
and Sean, switch
work.
back.
Absolutely. Of course, Sean's got to get outside. He just from the back, he didn't
Gentlemen,
belong
side
next to Phil
tricep.
Heath. The back double bicep is Phil Heath, and we're back to that side chest, which arguably is one of those poses that Big Rami wins. The side tricep, I think Phil Heath sneaks up on.
Abdominals and thighs.
How does Big Rami win this contest? Walk us through this.
It's got to be one of those situations where it's based on
Favorite most
improvement.
muscular.
Rami is the best he's been. I cannot say the same thing about Phil Heath.
Sean, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is Big Rami a better bodybuilder tonight than Phil Heath?
There's a case that he's making right now, Dan, that I arguably would have absolutely no argument if he took the
Relax.
Sandow Trophy home. However,
Phil and
Phil's
Ronnie,
genetic
back in line,
strengths cannot be denied.
Well,
The downside of being a dominant champion
Front double by
is that
quarter turn.
they want you to close the door on your competition, and Phil has left that door open.
this is a really good call out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to
Quarter turn.
get a sense for what William Bonek has become, it's nothing short of amazing. Sean Roden was given the opportunity earlier to move into an inner spot, and then
front.
Steve Weinberger looked at it, pushed him back off to the side.
Well, let me tell you something. Dexter wins it when he's standing next
Gentlemen,
to William.
front double
But when you
bicep.
get down to that lower half, William's calves make Dexter look like an amateur. And this is where Sean falls behind, again, especially in the lower back department, but mostly the meaty, chunky
Relax,
middle
turn
back,
around.
along with Rolly Winkler. The lower back is just not there.
This pose down, of
Sean,
course,
Dexter, William, and
is
Rolly back in
a
line.
battle for third place. Who has the advantage right now?
Gentlemen, quarter turn to the right.
And this is how good this Olympia lineup is when you see guys like Josh Lenardowitz,
Quarter turn to the
Cedric
right.
McMillan, and Brandon Curry, and Nathan, these guys that are in this call out right now. These are good bodybuilders here.
And in this lineup, I'm going to go with Brandon
Quarter
Curry
turn
and
to the
Nathan
right.
Diasha in this comparison. And that says a lot because I believe Brandon Curry is taking out our reigning defending Arnold Classic champion
Face
from
front.
Ohio. Brandon won the Arnold Classic championships, and
Front
Nathan
double
Diasha
bicep.
is one of the more improved. Obviously, I believe that Josh is a little spent for all intents and purposes in terms of getting to this competition. But right now,
Front lat
I got
spread.
Brandon Curry in this for comparison.
Line.
Back double
But I
bicep.
can tell you right now, these judges are not going to hand it to Phil Heath. He's not going to get this thing just because he is the defending champ. He's going to have to win this thing.
But again, if Phil wins because he has a better total genetic structure and a better back. And that is half your body when we're talking the calves, the hamstrings, the glutes, the lower back, the middle back, the deltoids. He wins that from the rear.
Abdominals and thighs.
But he has to know that he's in a dogfight. They are
Favorite
not
most
comfortable.
muscular.
I know he works with Hani Ramba, but right now I think he's probably a little bit nervous. And we're going to see that come out in the pose down. Phil is going to be fighting like an animal. He's going for history. So that means a lot
Dexter,
more
William,
than
Rami,
just
and
winning.
Phil.
History lasts forever. He's got 6 Olympia titles. He wants history.
All right, this is where you're going to get a chance to see these guys really make their money. If I'm not mistaken, $400,000 up for grabs for the winner's check.
It would have been nice to just see Phil and Big Rami because that's really where the contest is.
All right, I'm going to take you pose by pose, Sean Ray. These guys are going to start with the front double bicep. Phil Heath versus Big Rami for the 2017 Olympia. Let's take it shot for shot. Front double bicep. Who has the advantage?
Right now, the advantage is
Front
Phil when his
lat
stomach
spread.
is flexed. He's got to be flexed or it doesn't look right.
Now they're going to move into the front lat spread. Phil Heath versus Big Rami.
I'm going with Big Rami all day on the front lat spread. Just way too wide.
Side
You
chest.
can't ignore the sweeping quads.
Now, a pose that has always really fared very well for Phil Heath is the side chest. Let's move in to this comparison. How do you see this one?
I'm staying with Big Rami on the side chest. I saw this a few times, and it is ridiculous in terms of the girth. Phil is hard through the pecs. It just doesn't have the girth, the width, and the meat and the mass. He's competitive, but Big Rami wins that pose to me.
Back double bicep.
All right, the plot thickens. They are turned to the back. As they do these poses, they will check themselves on the monitor. They're basically watching the same thing you guys are watching at home. They just have to look up a little bit higher to do it. Sean Ray, how does it look?
And this is a maturity thing. I think Phil has him on the muscularity part. Again, in the lower part, this is where Big Rami, he had the hamstring injury before. The calves aren't necessarily all the way there. I think Phil has this pose.
Back lat spread.
Who gets this one?
Big Rami all day. He's wide as the 747 jet. Watch those lats open up and basically make Phil look very narrow. I thought
Side
Rami is
tricep.
ridiculous, and Phil's got to look over there at Dexter Jackson, who's actually wider than him.
We're going to go in to a side tricep shot. Again, another pose that has always been very favorable to the champ.
Absolutely, and I just think Rami's hitting that shot wrong. He's
Abdominals
not
and
doing
thighs.
it right. This is where I'm telling you, this is where Phil is dead serious. He thinks he's kidding with Dexter, but this is about money right now and history. He's fighting for his paycheck.
Just looking at the intensity in Big Rami's face as he hits that shot. He is here. He knows he has a chance. He
Favorite
can taste
most
this
muscular.
thing. Phil Heath, though, is not going to go quietly. And quite frankly, from what I would guess, Phil Heath coming into this thing are really separating
ball,
themselves.
make it
But
work,
Sean,
come on.
based on your analysis, Big Rami has a whole lot of advantages.
He certainly does, Dan, and I got to tell you, Phil is getting more and more aggressive because he realizes the sand in the
That's it,
clock
guys.
is
Thank you.
ticking,
This concludes our
and he's
round.
got
Back
to
you,
get that
Rob.
title. This is what he's here for.
All right, thank you, Big Steve.